last half of 2024, I was completely burned out. I've been working on a game for 6 years and was nowhere near done. Because of my mental state, every piece of code took 10 times longer than it usually did. I calculated that I'd run out of money to pay rent within 3 months. Most of my team members, understandably, had to step away for financial reasons. And the ones that still remained had the belief that we could make it. I was dreading telling them that that may never be the case, because for the first time in my game development journey, I was considering quitting. My dad, once a quiet believer, was having intense arguments with me. It was heartbreaking because now he was one of my biggest opponents. The urge to quit was strong, but I knew deep inside that I would always wonder what could have been. So I had to release at least one game to find out what would happen. With time and money running out, I had to come up with something fast. That's when I took one of the biggest gambles of my creative career. I restarted from scratch and made a brand new game within 3 months. This game, called Plastic Battlegrounds, achieved within several months of release 15,000 Discord followers, a 4.9 rating on the Meta Horizon store with over 7,000 reviews, hundreds of thousands of sales, becoming the number 4 top seller. Even my dad plays the game and answers players' questions on social media. So, how did this happen when I was so close to giving up? I'm Khang Nguyen, founder of Simulated Minds and creator of Plastic Battlegrounds. I'm going to share with you how my early access sandbox title succeeded despite a short development cycle, burnout, and no money in a competitive market. The game I was working on at the time was a PCVR sandbox battle simulator called Cry of Athena, which lets you create battles from across time periods. But it was way too ambitious. On top of that, I wanted a simultaneous Meta Quest and PCVR release, but porting Cry of Athena to Meta Quest would take longer than my money could stretch, and my willpower was running low. I knew I could carry over some things, but not everything. One of the hardest things to program was close combat melee physics. I could simplify Cry of Athena, but I couldn't just leave melee physics out because that's what players would expect. The universal time period of the game also meant dozens of gameplay systems, AI types, levels, and more. I thought to myself, if only I didn't have to port all these things over and just work on singular aspects such as the shooting mechanics, which I knew were much easier to code. That's when the original inspiration came back to me. It all goes back to this little guy and how a small soldier could turn into big dreams. This right here, this is my favorite person. I love this person because he represents a version of me that was creative and free. As a kid, I loved playing in ways that stretched my imagination. One of my favorite things to do was play with toy soldiers. Entire war movies played out on the living room floor. I could direct my own films and populate it with as many soldiers, explosions, and high-intensity moments as I wanted to, using my imagination. I had an inclination towards games that let me take the reins on creativity. I found the same joy as playing with toy soldiers through making battles and war scenarios within level editors, especially within real-time strategy games. It was like I had unlimited toy soldiers to play with, and I didn't even have to imagine all of it. Some level editors played out in real time, meaning I didn't have to go through a tedious process to play my creations. They played out in front of me even as I was making the levels, with toy soldiers battling the second I placed them down. This later became a major foundation of Cry of Athena. I took that same concept, but allowed players to directly involve themselves in the battles using virtual reality. Going one step further, or backward in this case, I realized that I could cut straight to the source of inspiration, toy soldiers. I would combine toy soldiers with Cry of Athena to merge two of my favorite childhood experiences, and this would create Plastic Battlegrounds. It was perfect because it extracted the core aspects of Cry of Athena and put it into a simpler toy soldier form. I shared a plan to make this game with my team member Cody Vidal. He'd just been let go of his day job, so it was go time for both of us. I would work on programming and overall game design while he would work on levels and music. Cody's nostalgia about toy soldier video game titles from the 90s meant that this pivot was as inspirational to him as it was to me. 3D artist Mitchell Sturdivant provided us with a toy soldier model. The plan was to build Plastic Battlegrounds, or PBG for short, as a stepping stone for Cry of Athena. I would run out of money by November, so I set a hard deadline October 15th, which coincidentally was both the date of my birthday and the release date of the MetaQuest 3S. A big part of this was because I couldn't imagine turning another year older without releasing a game. Originally, we were hoping PBG would sell enough to pay for 2 or 3 months worth of rent, so I could complete Cry of Athena. This plan needed to consider one big handicap: the burnout that I was facing. Burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by long-term stress. Ideally, someone with burnout should find the time to step away completely. And by no means do I recommend taking on something as risky as this with burnout. But what did I do when I was burnt out but had to keep going? First, I found inspiration. I switched to Plastic Battlegrounds in the first place as a way to mitigate my burnout. I knew that it would bring back the inspiration that I needed to work on games. It also simplified the development process into aspects that I found personally enjoyable, such as programming the AI soldiers. I minimized the amount of time I spent on features I wouldn't enjoy by working smarter. I coded in a simplistic way that my programmers today would call barbaric, but it was good and solid enough to make a fun and functional game. Another aspect is to be resourceful. I relied on online communities, such as the one in Meta Horizon Start, to learn how to create a game from scratch for MetaQuest, since I'd only been working on PC VR before. My fellow developers of the Meta Horizon Start community helped me solve Unreal Engine-specific problems, troubleshoot critical issues uploading the game to the store, and made sure that I passed virtual reality checks. Once, a group of developers even banded together to help me solve a fringe API issue that prevented me from uploading the game to the store. They are truly the unspoken heroes of the story. All of this freed up much needed time to focus on the core gameplay. If you want to have the same access to the resources, support, and dev community that I did, scan the QR code here to apply for Meta Horizon Start. The next part is balancing health with discipline. Step away from the computer, exercise, and eat healthy. This gives you fuel to keep going. You need to have determination and grit. One thing that always inspired me to keep going is my family. They escaped the war zone, losing my brother in the process, but still found success. I do it for them. So put one foot in front of the other every day until you can achieve it. It's possible to soldier on while taking care of yourself. The final part is planning out your release goals in an achievable way. I focused only on the highest impact features that not only I could do by myself, but that I knew would make Plastic Battlegrounds stand out even against the biggest games. These features included satisfying physics, such as having the toy soldiers break apart when you shoot them, and giving them ragdoll physics so they can be shoved around and thrown with your hands. You can switch between being human or toy-sized, watching over the battlefield, or fighting in it yourself. Another unique feature was having the gameplay feel like a real-time level editor, allowing players to be both creative and in the action, giving it replayability as well as fast time to fun. Despite there being the successful games with toy soldiers in the past, there have been no games that allow you to treat it like an actual toy box, especially in VR. There's an entire button on the controller dedicated to spawning things like soldiers and weapons. So the gameplay centralizes around creation, fast time to fun, and involving yourself in the action. Pricing matters. Our original game, Cry of Athena, was supposed to release within early access in several months of development, but there was one thing holding me back: expectations. We aimed for a $20 game, but I didn't want to let down our potential players by giving them something that wasn't worth their time or money. Hence, I kept pushing it back. I had an epiphany that I could just make Plastic Battlegrounds cheaper, and that allowed me to get over my perfectionism and release on time. I priced the game really cheap at $5. Then I aimed to over deliver. We updated frequently after release and only increased the price along with major updates. This showed players that we were self aware and helped build trust. On social media, Plastic Battlegrounds blew up within several weeks of release. What made Plastic Battlegrounds unique was that it combined creative freedom with a light milsim style. This meant players can make their own war films, or what some call these days, cinema. This was very apparent in Claymation VR's videos, which got over hundreds of millions of views due to his intense action sequences and passionate acting. The game gave players like him an easy way to direct and act in their own films that had the intensity of war movies, but with a toy soldier theme. This made it friendly for all audiences and allowed the game to have a very strong marketing capability. The battle isn't over once you've got a hit. One of the big reasons we succeeded, despite our challenges, was because we listened to the community. Please, developers, listen and communicate with your players. Many games fall apart or don't reach their potential just because developers think they're above the players. You have to put away your ego if you want to win. Be accountable and admit fault readily. You can find me online and in the review section, personally responding to concerns. I filtered by low reviews and looked at the most frequent complaints, and that's what we tackled. It was working because the complaints stopped coming as ratings increased. We were transparent and put disclaimers on new features that may have bugs. We indicated much more was coming through a roadmap, and most importantly, we actually delivered on our promises through frequent updates and will continue to do so. If you're in touch with your players, they will become your champions. Don't focus on money or being the top seller. Make a game that is good first by working with a community, and the rest will follow. Today, the game supports not only just me, but an international team of almost a dozen developers. This includes most of the original team. It has changed our lives. With the massive support we've gotten, we continue to update the game and will continue to use it as a foundation for future releases, such as Cry of Athena. Multiplayer is also on the way. Thanks to all the developers who helped make the game, to friends and family, Meta Horizon Start, and most of all, to our players. Thanks for watching and have a great MetaConnect.